Welcome to the Liberty Ladies podcast. I'm Sarah Simon, your host for this evening, joined by my co-host Heather Crum.
Hi.
So we're excited about tonight. We're going to dig into our favorite topic, education.
Yay!
Yay! We want to talk about school board meetings and why you need to attend them, and we're going to give a little bit of background of a recent incident that occurred. I'm the chapter chair, Monster Liberty for Stark County, and as we know, Heather is of Madison County. So recently we had an issue, and when we say we're a grassroots, boots on the ground, this is going to be a prime example of what that looks like. So it came to my attention, and a lot of information we get comes this way. I received a text message from a concerned citizen saying that there was an issue with the transgender policy in the Alliance School, and they had told me about the next school board meeting that was coming up. So I've got 17 school districts in my county, plus the Stark Educational Service Center. So obviously I cannot keep on top of everything. We do have a very large private group. All of the chapters of Monster Liberty do. So I immediately made a post and said, hey, can I get some more information about this? I got a lot of comments, but not a lot of facts about it. So I wanted to know whether or not the school board meeting was recorded and publicly available. So I got on their site, the Alliance site, couldn't find that it was recorded. Immediately looked for their policy on recording the school board meetings, because I do that. Sometimes if there's an issue that I feel like needs to be made public, I will go record them. I couldn't find that either. So I emailed the superintendent and the school board and found out that a local access channel actually does record them. And I think there's a club at the school too, which is great, where the kids actually have a club and they help record the meetings. So that was a little bit background of how we got here with getting this clip that we're going to show you in a few minutes. But so I did all the groundwork on that. And then we luckily had some new members join, because if there's an issue going on, we see a surplus in our numbers.
Exactly.
So I saw an uptick, especially when I had asked about it. And we did have a gentleman that went to the meeting, and it's like 50 minutes from where I live. And I had something else that evening. But he was a new member, and he broke down all of the speakers and everything that happened, and had talked about the young lady that we're going to show the clip. So what I did after that, after the meeting the next day, I requested it from the channel, the public access channel, and they sent me a digital copy right away, and then I sent them a donation. So this is a clip from that, and is it okay, Heather, if I just jump in and we can talk about it?
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
I'm a sophomore at Alliance High School. To preface, I will be speaking to the board today about a number of grievances that have arisen in the past week in regards to women's rights and gender identity. Cancel culture. It's an American phrase contemporary to the late 2010s that was originally used to refer to a cultural instance in which an individual of generally good moral standing has acted or spoken in an inappropriate manner and is therefore shunned and or ostracized by the public. In recent years, this way of thinking has gained increasingly widespread popularity in an effort to rectify many societal issues and overall blatant discrimination. While initially well-intended, this practice has taken a turn for the worse, as it has created a generation that is afraid to speak up about what is morally right for fear of being ridiculed for not agreeing with the mainstream opinion. Take, for example, this past week, in which rumors regarding a specific transgender student entering traditionally female spaces began to circulate. This student, who, may I state for the record, is a biological male, said, and I quote, "Next week I will be in your bathroom and there is nothing you can do about it," while addressing one of his female peers. This same student then proceeded to antagonize some of his other female classmates, to which he knew were uncomfortable about the situation, by loudly announcing what bathroom he would be using on several different occasions. He later said he would beat up those who were opposed to him entering the restroom. Many girls also revealed that said individual had also exposed his male genitalia while in the restroom, and thus they felt harassed, violated, and unsafe while at school and in his presence. When we as students reported these incidents and expressed our concerns, we were dismissed by the school staff and administrators with the explanation that they were acting in accordance with federal law, and that if we had an issue, then we would have to use the clinic's restroom. When asked what law they were referring to, they could not provide me with an answer, and in short told us all to not engage. I therefore decided to do some extended research of my own. As mentioned in a previous parent square from our superintendent, Mr. Rob Gress, Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 has been interpreted so as to prohibit sex-based discrimination against gender non-conforming individuals in any educational program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. However, the school has failed to inform the public of their obligation to protect the rest of the students from intimidation and sexual harassment under this law. This duty, which the administration has been negligent to, has thus infringed upon another section of Title IX, as it has subjected several girls and boys to different rules of behavior and treatment. If this is indeed factual, then it only shows how severely cancel culture and censorship alike have influenced our ethical behaviors and those who are in charge of protecting our children. This was never about the LGBTQ community. This was about the way that we were made to feel as students and the way that the school addressed the situation. I ask you, Alliance City School Board of Education, regardless of federal or local law, why are you prioritizing the feelings of a small group of individuals rather than the safety of the entire student population? Why are you promoting special treatment over equal rights? Why are you allowing underlying political agendas to motivate your decisions and silence the voices of your students? At what board meeting was this policy approved, and why did you choose to inform the public about this decision at such a late date despite its controversy? I ask you once again, when will enough be enough? To what extent is the board willing to let this go? Who will become a victim of someone else's behavior because you refuse to open your eyes to the dangers that you are subjecting us all to as children? When are you going to step up and protect those who are too afraid to speak for themselves?
So what did you think about that clip?
Oh, well, it just hit my hot button once again, because this is one of my biggest kind of, I don't even want to say it. I'm trying to be very civil in this. This is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to education and how Title IX is currently. I'm a mom of 3. I have 2 adult sons. I do have a teenage daughter. And just like yourself, we do this with, we do all this work with Moms for Liberty, not just for our own kids, but for everyone else's kids. And when I see, number one, a biological boy or man using a facility where the females should have, number one, privacy, safety. Number one, first and foremost, it's fundamentally morally wrong. It's also putting our girls and even women, this is happening to women too. It's putting their safety at the back of the line. And we have Title IX to protect us, but we don't anymore. That Title IX, it's gone away to protect our girls. And as a mom, my number one job is to protect my kids. My grandmother's nickname was Mama Bear, and I will gladly take that same title because I will go to my death to protect my children. And if that were my daughter, I'm not certain I would be standing at a board meeting. I'm certain things would not be that pleasant.
There were some criminal charges in that. That's insane. That, what did she say? They took it to the administration, the school administration, and they
Don't
said,
engage.
don't engage. Like,
Don't
that's
engage.
the answer when a student is showing his genitalia and threatening to beat up other girls' students. I mean, that's the answer. Don't engage. That's insane.
I can't even find words to tell you how irate I get when I hear these stories, because these are young girls that have to be protected, not sacrificed. And we have parents on a daily basis who are so worried about cancel culture.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, if someone knows that I don't agree with this and that trans rights don't matter more than my own child's rights,
Yeah.
that I'll be canceled and I'm going to stay quiet. It's throwing your children to the wolves and saying, good luck, but I'm just glad that I'm comfortable. And I'm not okay with that.
Absolutely. And that's what that young girl was saying, exactly what you said, that the school is so worried about cancel culture and the social climate right now that it's just don't engage. That's the answer. It's like, no. And when we're having this conversation, it's not that we're lumping all of transgender into this bucket, but we're saying there's enough incidents that are occurring, and regardless if they are occurring or not, like little girls. I'm a woman. I want my privacy. We deserve that. We deserve to shower with other women, use the restroom with other women, change in front of only other women. I mean, our rights should matter. How we
Mhm.
feel and our safety should matter. And I thought she did an excellent job, defining that in her speech. And I mean, isn't it sad though? And it always really angers me when I see kids. I mean, I appreciate that they're doing it, but it always angers me that they have to do it. Like this is
Mhm.
our job. Like we're the adults. We
Yes.
are the ones that should be protecting these children, and even the school board. I mean, how sad is it that she had to get up there as a teenager and give that speech and what was in that speech? I mean,
Mhm.
that is terrible that we are failing so badly that it's on this girl's shoulders
Yeah.
to make it public.
And thank goodness whoever her parents are, or I mean, we don't know anything about her personally, but thank goodness she had the guts to get up there
Yeah.
and say what she did, and she was eloquent in her delivery of the facts.
Yeah.
And for her to get up there, you have to applaud her for that,
Oh,
because I
yeah.
guarantee she's not the most popular girl at the school right now, and probably not with administration nor teachers. I mean, we know how all of those relationships work,
Yeah.
especially when you cross that line and you talk about the taboo, which is the stuff that we talk about every day.
Yeah.
But if that were my daughter, I'm not certain she would have a chance to get up there first, because I'm certain that I would be front and center at that board meeting. I mean, I know I would, along with
Yeah.
picket signs out front of the school, letting them know what took place. I mean, you have to put it out there. But
Yeah.
these kids, they're putting themselves out there. They're putting their heads on the chopping block, because
Yes.
a lot of times they're the only ones who are speaking up. And I totally understand that there are people that will lose their jobs if they speak out. I get it.
Yeah.
There's something that you can do. Like, you can't sacrifice your kids to either be comfortable or to fit in or to not lose family and friends. I mean, you and I both know we haven't done this without loss.
Yeah.
And really, I don't consider it loss. I consider it got rid of some baggage. If people, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
The people that don't respect our right to say, my daughter, all of these girls and young boys, they have the right to
Yes.
privacy. And
Boys
it
too.
doesn't,
Boys don't need to be put in that situation. Can you imagine the
no.
liability of being in that situation, being a young boy?
Can I
Like,
tell you what my dad would have done if that would have happened when I was in school? I can't fathom. I
yeah.
grew up with a Green Beret, a correction officer as a dad. There would have been no board meeting. I mean,
Explains so much, Heather. It explains so
he
much.
would have handled business himself,
Yeah.
period. Now, where are these parents now? I mean, there are parents standing up. Don't take it as if some, parents
They're
aren't,
not enough. There
but
aren't
there's
enough. There
not
isn't. We know
enough.
this.
I
No.
mean, it's ridiculous, the fact that these kids are out there dealing with this, and
Yeah.
parents sometimes know what's going on. I think sometimes they don't. And if they say, well, if I just keep my head in the sand, then I don't see the reality. So I don't feel like I have to actually do something. Because, once you acknowledge it, you kind of have to act.
Yeah.
It's so, it fires me up.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we're talking about women's rights. You know what I mean? Like, what a backslide. I mean, I get furious when we talk about it because it's
Mhm.
like there are all these women, and then you even have women defending this. And it's
Oh,
like,
yes.
what are you, have you lost your mind? Like, like you're giving away rights that, generations fought for. And you're just like, oh, you know what? It's fine. It's
Yeah.
cool. Equality for everyone, just don't engage.
I say it all the time, because it really is true
Yeah.
that the same people who scream about women's rights and it's my body, my right, and the brawl burners, and all of this, that fight and bitch and moan about women's rights, okay, honestly, are
Mhm.
the same people that now are standing behind every tranny saying that their lives matter more than what they were initially supporting. And I'm sorry, I don't take a back door to anybody. Neither do any of these girls.
I think that the youth coming up, I think you're going to see a lot of this. I mean, I know that my children talk politics. I mean, and this isn't a big, I mean, obviously I'm me, but believe it or not, I don't talk too much in the way of politics. I don't initiate it with my kids. But I hear their conversations. I mean, we talk about it sometimes that it comes up, but I hear their friends talk, and I've been hearing it for probably 2 or 3 years, and they talk politics. They talk about a lot of the social issues that are going on. And I just happened to eavesdrop on it. And I'm like, I never, ever talked about that kind of stuff as a young teenager. But it's so in their face, and they're dealing with it and living with it, and they're concerned about their future. I mean, like this girl, I mean, I think that you're going to see a trend of this younger group being like, yo, like this is a mess right now, and this isn't what we want to live through later. we need to clean this up. Our parents, the older generation, just isn't handling business like they need to be right now.
I think you're absolutely right. And I do hope that, that there are kids out there that see this video and see the strength and courage that this young girl in Alliance, Ohio had, and do the same. But more than that, I hope someone is there to record them speaking at a board meeting, because as we know, and some of our viewers may not be aware, not all school board meetings, which are public meetings, are not recorded. But you can record yourself while you're there. We need more of this being spread around, because there are people that have even responded to me sharing this video that said, oh, Heather, there's only one person that had this happen to. I said, no, this is one person from one school district on one evening that spoke at one school board. This is happening across the nation, and it is being brushed under the rug, and we need to bring it front and center.
100% agree. And we really need to hammer in recording school board meetings. So in my district, probably half of them are recorded and made public, but half of them aren't. So let's talk about what that looks like for a minute. I had this happen at my school. They did record the school board meetings. They're normally about an hour long, and they have different students come in and discuss the cool things that they're doing in the schools, which, that's cool. I went to one meeting in January. I think it was January last year, and it lasted 15 minutes. It was 15 minutes long. They announced at the beginning that they are no longer answering questions. They were kind of rude. And then lectured us about the timing of questions. Mind you, I'm probably the only person that, I'm the one that asked all the questions. So I feel like it was directed toward me a little bit.
It may have been directed at you, Sarah.
I feel like it was. I was like, there's 3 people here, and I'm the one that's going to ask the question. But then we got done with it, and I realized they didn't record the school board meeting. And I was like, that's why it was 15 minutes. So I immediately found the school board policy, and I was going to show people just an example where most of the school board policies are found. The formatting is pretty close to the same. Okay. But really, if you want to research this, just you get on, you find your school board policies, you go through, you find that specific policy, and then you email the superintendent and the school board members in an email. Do a read receipt, my friends. It takes 2 seconds. Do a read receipt. Send it to them and be like, I would like to record the school board meeting. Usually you just got to give a small advance. And the school boards that I've done it, minus my own school, mind you, my superintendent was kind of rude to me.
Go figure.
Yeah, I know. I got my way, so whatever. But the other school boards I've done with, they've been really, really nice about it. So you just go in and set up your camera, you record it, and then you load it. You can load it, up to share on. You can make a YouTube channel; it's free, or however you want to disperse that. So it's very, very easy to do this. It's your right to do this. Yes. Just know what you're doing and get involved. And you should be going to school board meetings. And if you're there, why not record them? I mean, these recordings are going to get shared. Hundreds of people are going to see these that can't make the meeting for sports reasons. Maybe their kids are in sports. They work. I mean, people have lives. And then you have a public, you got this, you got accountability, because you can't have accountability without transparency. I wish I could just take a hammer and beat at that in everybody's head. You cannot have accountability without transparency. Meeting minutes are not going to give you that transparency. They're watered down. They're left out of them intentionally. Meeting minutes are not good. And you lose context. You need a video. And then if you want to hold school board members accountable later, I mean, this is an example, but even voting. I mean, this is something that you want to start tracking before school board races and get equipped and ready for whatever's coming your way.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, one of our local districts here, they have never recorded, but people do record when they're there. They do have the minutes on the website, but I mean, it's literally just business. There's never anything about public participation. But I will tell you who is always there recording. The very left-leaning parents are there, all lined up like a bunch of crows on a fence, and they have their cameras ready. When their friends get up and speak and, oh gosh, our superintendent's wonderful, and yes, our kids are failing school and they're not educating them, but they're so busy indoctrinating them, and thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for spending our tax dollars so well. They're sitting back, applauding them. But as soon as someone gets up and makes a challenging statement, or says something about a policy or curriculum, or they just oppose something, anything, all cameras are up, and they're sharing it on social media as if to shame people and to scare people from speaking again.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Everyone has that right to video it. And we need to have something to where schools are required. If it's the tech guy from the school, they're with a cell phone or an iPad recording it, and you have to download it every month for people to be able to watch. It's not censored. It doesn't remove public participation. It includes it. So it is being transparent, and people see what's actually happening, because a lot of these districts are putting things on there so that they're editing what they don't want people to know and hear and see.
I 100%. And I mean, we're in 2024. I mean, me and you are doing this podcast, right, from our laptops,
Right.
and making it public. I mean, there really is no excuse that I can think of why these school board meetings are not all recorded and made public. I mean, a YouTube channel is free, Rumble channel is free. I mean, you can do it get a little tripod and put a cell phone on there. I mean, there really is no reason right now that this isn't something that's happening at every single school. I know why it isn't happening.
Yes.
But there really is no reason why this can't get done.
And there's no push to make it happen. But people can start doing that. They can start pushing. You can start, if they're not going to record it, I'd say go in with a full battery and have at it for an hour or however long that meeting is.
And I think that we talked about this at the chapter level, trying to get, and I do have a volunteer for one of my school districts. But, I'm really, really hoping, because I think, this is the key. I'm really, really taking a step in the right direction. It's getting real transparency on what's taking place at these school board meetings, and understanding who these school board members are. I mean, you elected them and then you just forget about them for 4 years. How are they voting on issues? What is the public discussion when they're deciding on policies? These are things that you need to know as a voter, to hold your elected people accountable and decide if you're going to, vote them in again or not. I mean, we need to do this and get transparent. And like this, I mean, if this young woman would not have gotten up in this school board meeting and spoken, parents in the community would have had no idea that this male had, showed his genitalia and had threatened to beat up other girls. I mean, that is unacceptable behavior that the administration allowed. There is just no excuse for that. I mean, take aside that he's even transgender, just any male doing that is completely unacceptable.
I mean, threatening these girls, and then they have bathrooms that they have to give up and go use another bathroom facility. So I'm sorry, it makes no sense, but they will try to come up with a rationalized version of, it's all about trans rights. It has nothing to do with that. I'm sorry. You're born with a penis or you're born with a vagina. Look at the sign. If it has a shirt and a pair of pants, that's for the guys that have a penis. If it has a skirt or a dress on the sign, it's for the people that have a vagina by birth, and that's where you use the bathroom. We don't cross over. And when it goes, oh gosh, Board of Education. Well, I could go, we could do about 6 podcasts tonight and break them up. Board of Education members, let me just tell you, locally, I can tell you that they are worthless. Not only are they worthless, they're clueless. And they are elected members that are on a ballot that people vote for. Do you think anyone has a clue other than, and I won't say names, I'd like to. Other than the fact that they're voting for the name of someone that they know or someone that's been on there for 10 years that
Nice
hasn't done
person.
squat, they just vote them in. And honestly, up until 2020, I was one of the guilty parents. I had never been to a
Me
board
too. I
meeting.
didn't even know who my school
I
board
trust
members were till
no.
2019.
I had a let's say ex-best friend whose husband was on the board. And I trusted that they were doing the right things. Well, 2020 was a whole different year. Like, thank
Yeah.
goodness the whole scamdemic happened because we all became awake and not woke, but we woke up to the wokeness.
Yeah.
And we got to see what was a bird's eye view of what was happening to our kids. And seeing that these board members are just if you're conducting business in 15 minutes for an entire district, how much work are you actually doing? Are
Yeah.
you working on policies? Are you number one, is the board even in charge of the superintendent? Because we know that a lot of these superintendents who
Are
are
running
as
the
far,
school.
they're running the
They're running the
show.
board meetings. Do you see them? They run the
Yes,
board meetings. Yeah, I always find it astonishing that like they're completely in charge of everything. When you go and you're like, yo, like what's happening
by
here? Like you're not
design.
elected. Your
Mhm.
president of the board should be running the meetings. Instead, they guide the entire conversation. It's like they're in charge.
They
It's
are.
insane.
They are
Most
in
meetings I
charge.
go to, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to really look at to do public records request on things, I mean, that's a whole different podcast we could do, but,
Yeah.
just for someone, if you know what a public records request is, you can go on to the Ohio Secretary of State, and they have on their website, they have a link that will let you take a free class for public records request. You can use that for boards of education, you can use that for your county, like your county commissioners, your mayors, all of those different things. Like if you want information and you want solid evidence of what's going on, go and take that little class that's free. It's eye-opening as to what information you can come up with because the emails, I mean, let's face it, there's things that everyone sends they don't want people to see. And when you're subject to public records requests, like you get to see some interesting stuff. But start looking into these candidates. And we really need some quality candidates to start standing up who aren't afraid to put their head on the chopping block and do the right thing for our kids.
And I think it's really important, like you brought up, a lot of board members, I've heard it a lot during COVID, but they're like, well, you just don't understand. We don't have any power. Like I used to hear it all the time. You just don't understand. And it's like, well, I understand perfectly fine what's going on here right now. For one, you have all the power. Like you're in charge of the policies. Okay. You hire the superintendent. You guys hire a superintendent who's guiding the school. That superintendent should be a reflection of the values of your community. Hands
Yes.
down. It's that simple. I mean, if he's not that or she's not, that's the wrong person for your community.
Yep.
And the treasurer, you hire the treasurer and the money and you approve the budgets. So, I mean, and they're per Ohio law, the school board is the sole authority of curriculum per Ohio law. So when they sit there and say, I mean, you just don't understand. We don't have any power. I was like, no, I think you don't understand what job you just took on.
Yeah.
Like, are you crazy right now? But I mean, but I do understand why that's happening, sort of. I mean, you should know what you're running for. But I do know the OSBA, their training is a little liberal, a little be unified, and they're pushing a lot of this woke ideology as if it's a good thing. And we really have to have something counter that. I mean, that the OSBA is part of the mess, in my opinion, when it comes to training these school board members. But
we had a local district here, and this was as of I think around August or September of 2022. They had not done a curriculum, even visited curriculum for 11 years. I'm sorry, what are you doing? What exactly are you doing? They would sit there and the meetings would be 15 minutes long. Nothing was discussed, nothing was happening. The superintendent's running the show and he's micromanaging everything. And we even have, this is probably not new to you, but when you want to contact a board member, if you want to email a board member, you expect an answer back.
Yeah.
Well, in a lot of districts, they're not allowed to respond back to you. The superintendent will respond. So it's almost like a gag order has been placed over these
A
boards.
buffer.
And
Yeah, he's like the buffer of you getting to your elected officials. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if they respond at all. I mean, I have so many parents that they're like, "Oh, we don't get a response." And I tell them, I was like, first off, I mean, I put read receipts on everything I do because I want them to know that I know that they open my email. And I've had parents come at my school board meetings talking about that, and they'll call the school board members. We have one guy I like a lot, but he'll call them out. They'll be like, "You've never opened one," and they'll go through them, and I'm like, oh, I love it. But if you're not getting that information from sending an email, I mean, you depending on what the information is, most likely you can do the public records request. And then if they don't give it to you, then you can file a public records complaint. It costs $25. It's not breaking the bank. And I'm going to tell you what, school's not going to like that because they have to get their attorney together, and it's a thing for them. And you're making them spend a little bit of money and also taking their time to do that. But that's what they get because they should be answering you. And if they're not, then you have rights. You have an avenue to take to push back.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to hold them accountable to the job that they're voted. And, I don't know what wakes everybody up. But if you just go into your auditor site for your county where you live and go look at your property taxes. There's a nice little pie graph that shows out of X number of dollars of property taxes that you pay, where it all goes. It's all earmarked. There's all but about this much of it that goes to your school board. Not to the school board, goes to your schools. So then go a little deeper and look at how well are your schools educating your kids? Are you getting a good return on your investment? If that's what it takes to wake people up, okay, if money is what motivates you or makes you mad and makes you wake up, okay, look at that. But look at what they're doing with what they have. And let's face it, we can talk about education all day long. We can be here till tomorrow morning. These
2 or 3 in the morning talking about it.
Yeah, these schools have more money. They have seen more money in the last 4 years than they have ever had. So the excuse that you hear from teachers unions and teachers and superintendents and National Education Association, well, we just need more money and we could do a better job. I'm sorry, no, you're not. No matter what we throw at you, you're not going to make education better. You're going to use it to hire more administrative positions.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing with all this money.
It's so top heavy. It's so top heavy. And I had a school lake near me in my county. They didn't pass their levy failed twice. And they punished the students because that's how you get what you want.
Yep.
And they told the students that they had to pay $950 to play sports. I mean, this is like a smaller community. And imagine you have 3 or 4 kids. I mean, think about that. Like, think about what they did. So there was an uproar about it. But, they're bullying their levy in. And that's ridiculous to do that, to take that kind of stance because they didn't get what they wanted. We have our levy coming up here soon, too. But everyone's like, well, we just don't have any money anymore. We don't have any. It's like, well, I saw you got those ESSER funds. I mean, you got a surplus of funds in. You do have money, And I think but this is it. So they threatened to fire all these teachers, let go of all these teachers, plus the fee. Ask me how many administrators they were going to let go.
None.
0.
None.
0. But we're worried about education. It's about education. Like, so you're canning all the teachers. I think it was like 25 teachers, something ridiculous.
Wow.
And not one administrative position was on the chopping block. Not
Of course
one.
not.
And that superintendent's making a fat 6 figures, and who knows what the other administrators are making. It's top heavy. You want to clean up finances at school? Let's
Top
talk
down.
the assistant superintendent. I mean, they've got assistants all over the place for admins. Like, there's where you make your cuts. Sorry.
And if people want to get information, you know what? Do public records request on the finances of your school district. You'll be blown away. You have to be specific. So you really need to know what you're doing. You can reach out to people. You really need to fine tune, because a lot of times if you're vague or you're just very kind of ask a blanket question on finances, they're going to send you something that's not what you're wanting. And that's by design. We know that. You have to be very specific in what you're looking for. And I had a very wise lady tell me one time, don't send a public records request trying to find something out. You already know it. You just need the proof in your hands. But those finances are very, very telling of every district.
I think that there's two additional ways. I start here when I do my financing. I have a finance background, so I feel like I'll disclose that. But where I start with them is I look at two different areas. The financial statements, the forecasting, there's a 5-year forecast.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be made publicly available. I think it's twice a year per law, and that's on the Ohio Department of Education site. So that's the one place you look, and there's a notes section. And then there is a second section. The second area is audited financial statements. Auditors look at your financial statements at your school level, and there might be a slight delay, 8 months, 9 months till they're published. Look at that guy, because the auditors make comments. Like, my school gets dinged every single year. Every single year they get dinged because they're not GAAP compliant. They do cash-based accounting.
Wow.
But nobody would know that, unless you hold their financial statements. And there's some more in-depth explanations for what's going on with. There's more detail too. It's not going to give you the whole story though. So like, you look at those, and then you look at the 5-year forecast, then like, there's big variances. What are they? Is there an explanation? And if not, or you don't like the explanation, that's kind of what guides your questions that are more pointed to get explanations for. So.
And all of this may sound daunting to people who have never, taken these steps before.
It's fun to get in there and do
well,
like a little investigation. What's going on with our finances?
I'm the mom that may have had the superintendent run off stage to call the police in 2021 because I stood up and spoke at a board meeting and had quite a large group, but I spoke the truth, statistics about COVID, and get these kids back in school. They should not be going back with a mandated mask policy with the school. And there was more to it, but they wanted me hauled out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not everyone's at that level. Not everyone's a redhead either, right? Let's just face it. Maybe not naturally, but should have been. But let's face it, like, going to these school board meetings is the first couple ones that I went to, it was like, am I really supposed to be here? Am I welcome here? Yeah. No, just understand you're not welcome to be there. But it's your right to be there.
It is your right to be there.
Just go for a couple and sit back and just listen and watch, and then start doing some digging and maybe stand up and introduce yourself. Something very simple. You don't have to always, stand up and get your 3 minutes at a board meeting if you have a district that we would allow you to speak. I mean, you can just introduce yourself. I mean, if you're fortunate to have a great board of education and a great district, then praise them for what they're doing. If they have done something to protect your kids, to educate them better, praise them for what they're doing, because they do need a pat on the back, because we're always kicking them in the rear for what they don't do.
I need to work on that a little bit.
You earn it. I'm sorry. They have to earn it.
I actually have a very good relationship with my school board members. I've been showing up for school board meetings for, what year is it right now? 23. I've been showing up for 4 years, pretty consistently, and ran for the school board. So, I don't just show up when it's a bad day. Like, I'm there all the time, and you're doing good if I don't speak, you know what I mean? Life's good for you. Like, I'm like, thumbs up, good meeting.
Sarah sat down.
When I throw the paper on the desk, they're like, I'm like, here's my little form I'm speaking today. They're like, oh God, what's she going to say now? They learn with me though. I mean, that because, they're not getting all the information either. So I really genuinely hope that even emails that I send, because, if it's an email worthy, it's not like I want to speak at all the school board meetings. Maybe it makes sense to send an email, but I really hope that they're paying attention to the questions I'm asking, because there's a reason I'm asking them. And, I'm a pretty smart, level-headed person. So it's probably something you should know. So take a few minutes and, read it and read the replies I get.
No.
We're supposed to do 20-minute podcast, and we're at like an hour, and like we probably could talk for like another 5 hours.
Easily.
All right. Well, we're going to close this up. Oh, we're having a fun episode next week. We're doing a bunch of moms. We're going to have a panel of moms doing homeschooling. So we're going to go through, how does homeschooling work? Why I have no idea how homeschooling works. So I'm going to learn a lot from this too. And I'm assuming all three have different styles as well. So I think it's going to be super, super informative. And it's going to be one of those episodes where I learn things as well with the audience. So,
Absolutely. I think it's a great how-to, because there's a lot of people over the last few years that have really looked at home education and said, God, I would love to get my kids out of the schools, but I have no idea how to do it. And I think we're going to talk to a group of women, two of which are local to my area, that have done it, and they are still doing it, and they have done it well, and they have resources. They've been there, done that. They can tell you everything from the beginning of how to take your kid out of the public school, how to get them enrolled, or how to go about, picking your own curriculum so that they're not associated with the school district and getting indoctrinated, as well as resources. And these kids anymore, like, homeschooling is not what it used to be, where these kids are sitting at home and not getting socialized. Like, this is where things are going, and I
yeah.
get it. I get it. And I think it's going to be a great resource for a lot of people. And if anyone that's listening happens to know somebody that's maybe talking about it, please share it with them, because or get a hold of myself or Sarah. If you have any questions you would like us to pose, you can, if you know me, you've got my cell phone number. If not, you can find me on Facebook, send a private message. We'd be happy to pose that question for you.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we will see everybody next week.
See ya.
Bye.